My name is Annie, and until recently, my life was as simple as a daisy in a meadow. I wasn't chasing grand adventures or shooting for the stars. My small, cozy flower shop on a quiet street in our city was enough. I'd inherited it from my grandmother and poured my soul into it. The scent of fresh-cut roses, hydrangeas, and lilies was my favorite perfume. The rustle of wrapping paper was my sweetest melody. I knew all my regulars by face, remembering which flowers the silver-haired professor's wife loved across the street, always saving fresh peonies for the music teacher who visited on Fridays. Life was steady, calm, and happy in my little predictable world. I had modest savings, but enough to live, pay bills, and enjoy small joys like a new dress or coffee dates with my only close friend Lily. Lily was my opposite, loud, vibrant, always seeking new thrills. She worked at a big corporation and teased me about my quiet little swamp, but I knew she meant it kindly and valued my stability. Then, like a graceful white swan, he glided into my quiet world. Andrew. I remember every detail of that day. Late April, the air smelled like spring rain. I was unpacking a shipment of Dutch tulips, crimson, yellow, violet, with fringed petals. The bell above the door chimed, and there he stood. Tall, wearing a stylish beige coat, wind-tousled blonde hair, and the bluest eyes I'd ever seen. He hesitated, scanning my floral kingdom, and smiled. That smile made my heart skip. "Sorry, I might be lost," he said, his voice as smooth as velvet with a hint of rasp. "I need a bouquet for my mom's birthday. I know nothing about flowers. Can you help?" I helped, of course. We spent an hour selecting blooms. I told him about every flower. He listened with genuine interest, making me forget everything else. He joked, asked questions, shared funny stories about his mom. I made him a stunning bouquet of cream roses, white lisianthus, and eucalyptus. As he left, he turned in the doorway. "You talk about flowers so passionately. I think I'm falling for them too. Can I visit again? Just because." My cheeks flushed, and I nodded speechless. He came back the next day with a box of my favorite chocolates to thank me. His mom adored the bouquet. Then again, 2 days later. Soon, his visits became a daily ritual. He'd arrive in the evening, help me close up, and we'd drink tea from my grandma's old cups, talking about everything. I learned he was an ambitious consultant dreaming of starting his own business. He spoke with such fire in his eyes, his enthusiasm contagious. He seemed from another world, a world of big opportunities and dizzying success. I was just a quiet florist. "You're not just a florist," he'd say when I shared my doubts. "You're a fairy. You give people beauty and joy. What you do is honest and beautiful. It's just small. We'll fix that. Imagine, we'll open a whole chain of flower shops, the best in the city." My head spun. No one had ever spoken to me like that. No one believed in me like he did. With him, I felt special, seen. My little world expanded, filling with new colors and dreams. He courted me beautifully, taking me to upscale restaurants, though I felt out of place, giving me elegant gifts, taking me to theaters and galleries. He introduced me to his friends, fun, successful people who eyed me curiously but kindly. I felt like Cinderella at the ball. Lily, however, wasn't charmed. "Annie, he's too perfect," she said after dinner. "Like he stepped off a magazine cover. That's not real. Look closer." "You're just jealous," I snapped, hurt. I didn't want to listen. I was head over heels. Andrew was attentive, caring, tender. He anticipated my moods. If I was tired, he massaged my shoulders. If I was sad, he brought pistachio ice cream and old comedies. He showered me with a care I'd never dreamed of. 6 months later, on my birthday, he proposed. It was like a movie, a rented rooftop with a stunning city view, candles everywhere, soft music, a table for two. He knelt, opened a velvet ring box, and said words that made me cry happy tears. Of course, I said yes. I was over the moon. My fairy tale had come true. We set a wedding date 4 months away. Pre-wedding chaos began, venue hunting, guest lists, finding the dress. Andrew was involved in everything, supportive, full of ideas. He insisted on a lavish wedding. "My princess deserves the best," he'd say. I worried about cost. My savings were small, and Andrew claimed his money was tied up in investments. He soothed me. "I'll take out a loan. We'll pay it off together easily. Our day has to be unforgettable." I agreed. I trusted him completely. Then 2 months before the wedding, everything flipped upside down. On a rainy Tuesday, the mailman delivered a thick envelope with foreign stamps and a return address from a New York law firm. I turned it over, baffled. I had no relatives abroad except a distant great-aunt, my grandfather's sister, who'd moved to America young. I'd never met her, only heard childhood stories. She'd been childless and alone. Hands shaking, I opened it. Inside were pages of English legalese and an official letter in Russian. My eyes scanned the lines. I couldn't believe it. My legs buckled. I sank into a chair. The letter stated my great-aunt, Elizabeth Swan, née Lebedeva, had passed away, leaving her entire estate to me, her only living relative. Then came the number, a figure with so many zeros my brain refused to process it. $15 million. I reread it 3 times, pinched myself. This wasn't a dream. 15 million. Me, Annie the florist. It felt surreal. Sitting amid roses and chrysanthemums, the world blurred. My first thought, call Andrew. Share the news. Imagine his joy. We wouldn't need a loan. We could buy that big apartment. He could start his business debt-free. We could travel. A kaleidoscope of happy images flashed before me. I grabbed my phone, found his number, but my finger froze over the call button. A cold, quiet voice surfaced from deep within. "Wait. Don't rush." I didn't know why. It was irrational, an intuitive dread. Lily's words echoed. "He's too perfect." I recalled Andrew's strange, almost predatory gleam when he talked about wealthy people solving problems with money, his subtle disdain for my modest life disguised as concern. "My poor girl, scraping by for pennies. Don't worry, I'll change all that soon." I set the phone down. My heart pounded. Why was I doubting the man I loved, my future husband? I should be celebrating with him. But something stopped me, a newfound inner wisdom. I decided to process this alone first, verify it wasn't a scam. The next few days were foggy. I found the law firm's number online and called. A stern male voice confirmed everything. He explained the inheritance process, listed required documents. It was real. The money was real. I was an heiress. But instead of euphoria, I felt mounting anxiety. I told no one. Not Andrew, not Lily, not even my mom. This was my secret hooch, heavy, weighing on my shoulders. I acted normal, but inside everything churned. I started watching Andrew, listening closer to his words, studying his reactions. Before I'd seen him through rose-colored glasses. Now my vision was clear, assessing, and I began noticing things I'd missed. His conversations fixated more on money. He'd rhapsodize for hours about the car he'd buy when his project took off, the house we'd build, the vacations we'd take. What once seemed charming ambition now felt tinged with greed, impatience. Once at dinner, an elderly couple sat nearby, modestly dressed, ordering the cheapest dishes, but gazing at each other with tenderness. Andrew shot them a contemptuous look. "See that? Worked their whole lives for peanuts, and what do they have? Can't even afford a decent dinner in old age. Pathetic." "Money is freedom, Annie. Remember that." His certainty chilled me. To me, that couple seemed freer and happier than any millionaire. But I stayed silent. Wedding prep intensified. Andrew insisted on the priciest venue, the most famous photographer, a limousine. "We can't embarrass ourselves in front of my friends and business partners," he declared. When I timidly mentioned the cost, he waved me off. "Don't worry, babe. I'll handle it. I'll take a bigger loan. We'll pay it off in a few years. You'll help me, right?" His blue eyes melted me, but a cold worm of doubt had taken root inside. Help him? Did he expect my meager flower shop income too? The alarm bell screamed loudest 3 weeks before the wedding. Andrew burst in one evening, exhilarated. "Annie, amazing news. Remember my project? An investor's interested. But there's a catch I need to put in my share to show commitment. It's a hefty sum, but doable. I've got almost all of it, just need a little more. I need another loan, but the bank requires a guarantor. You'll sign the papers for me, right? It's just a formality. He spoke fast, eyes blazing. He shoved papers at me. My hands trembled as I took them. Guarantor. That meant if he defaulted, I'd be responsible for his debt. My shop. My only asset, Grandma's tiny apartment. And those 15 million he knew nothing about. Andrew, I don't know, I stammered. This is serious. I'm scared. His face transformed instantly. The smile vanished. His eyes turned icy. Scared, he repeated with chilling calm. What are you scared of, Annie? That I'll screw you over? You don't trust me? Your future husband? It's not about trust, I said, feeling horribly guilty. I just don't understand this. It's a lot of money, a lot of risk. What risk? His voice rose. There is no risk. It's a sure thing. I thought you supported me. I thought we were a team. But you're just clinging to your little hovel, scared to move forward. I'm breaking my back for our future and you. He cut himself off, spun around, and slammed the door. I stood alone, holding his papers, feeling worse than ever. I cried, hurt, scared, confused. I felt like a traitor. Was he right? Was I just a coward who couldn't support the man I loved? I didn't sleep. The next morning I called Lily, sobbing, telling her about the loan, the guarantor demand. I still kept the inheritance secret. Lily listened, then said firmly, Annie, do not sign anything. Hear me? Nothing. If he loves you, he'll understand. If all he wants is money and a guarantor, why marry him? Her words sobered me. That evening Andrew called. He apologized, said he was wrong, he'd snapped, said he loved me and didn't want to pressure me. His voice was velvet and honey again. Forgive me, sweetheart, I wasn't myself. Forget it. I'll find another way. All that matters is you, us being together. My heart thawed. I forgave him. Convinced myself he was just stressed about his business, that he'd lashed out but was good inside. We made up. He never mentioned the loan or guarantor again, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Pre-wedding frenzy reclaimed us. I chose a simple, elegant dress. Andrew frowned when he saw it. Sweetie, why so plain? I thought you'd pick something glamorous. With crystals? A train? I like this, I said firmly. I want to be me on my wedding day, not a dressed-up doll. He didn't argue, but I saw disappointment flicker. The wedding was beautiful. An expensive venue, oceans of flowers, glamorous guests. Andrew's friends gave loud toasts, wishing us wealth, success, a yacht on the French Riviera. I smiled, accepted congratulations, but an icy knot sat in my stomach. Watching my handsome, beaming groom, I kept asking, who is he? The man I love, or a skilled actor? I felt like a fraud, hiding my secret. Yet that secret felt like my only shield. We signed the papers. I became his wife. A wedding band gleamed on my finger. Nothing seemed changed, but it was an illusion. The first shifts came on our Italian honeymoon. Andrew booked the priciest hotel, ordered the fanciest meals. He spent lavishly money I knew was borrowed. It stressed me. I suggested wandering side streets, eating at family trattorias, but he dismissed it. Honey, we're not paupers eating in dives. Relax and enjoy. But I couldn't relax. He was different. The tenderness and attentiveness vanished. He grew demanding, irritable. If I slept in, he called me lazy. If I wanted to read on the balcony instead of shopping, I was boring. He was always on his phone, texting about deals and schemes. I felt like an accessory to his success, not a loved wife. Back home, things worsened. The fairy tale ended. Reality began. Andrew was rarely home gone early, back late, citing business. He stopped caring about my life, my shop. One day I shared how a regular customer brought me homemade pie to thank me for her wedding bouquet. He wrinkled his nose. God, Annie, when will you quit messing with these weeds? My wife shouldn't smell like dirt and work for pennies. Close that little stall. But I love my work, I cried. It's my life's passion. Passion? He smirked. Shuffling flowers around? Don't make me laugh. Soon we'll have real money and real business, and you'll stay home, go to spas, do charity if you're bored." I stared, not recognizing him. Where was the man who called me his flower fairy? Who promised me a chain of shops? Before me stood a stranger cold, calculating. He controlled my every step, every expense, demanded receipts, even though I spent my own shop earnings, berated me for buying cheap groceries. We should only eat organic, farm-totable. It's about status, he decreed, yet he contributed nothing to household expenses. All my money's tied up in business, you know. Be patient. I'll make you rich soon. I endured, hoping it was temporary stress. I tried talking, rebuilding our closeness. He brushed me off. You don't understand business. Stay out of it. 3 married months passed, 3 months of hell disguised as luxury. I grew thin, gaunt. Joy vanished. Even my beloved shop offered no comfort. I'd arrange bouquets mechanically, thinking only, how could I have been so wrong? Then the mask fell off completely. It was an ordinary evening. Andrew was at a meeting as usual. I'd cleaned, made dinner he'd likely ignore, and sat reading on the couch. His phone, forgotten on the coffee table, buzzed. I glanced at the screen. A message from Sergei Investor. I'd never snooped, it felt wrong. But this time a sinister hunch pulled me. Hands shaking, I picked up his phone and opened the chat. My world shattered. What I read was worse than any horror movie. It was Andrew messaging his friend, not an investor. They were discussing me. Sergei, so how's your little florist? Bite on the loan yet? Andrew, not yet, digging her heels in. Says she's scared. Had to play loving husband. Apologize. Doesn't matter. Once we're married, she's stuck. Legal wife half of everything's marital property. She'll cough it up eventually. Sergei, she got anything besides her flower shack? Andrew, yeah, some granny flat. Pocket change, but enough for a down payment to plug holes. Main thing, she's quiet, domestic, controllable. Perfect cover. Makes me look like Mr. Successful. Bro, my debts are through the roof. If I don't score big this month, I'm toast. Gotta pluck this chicken. She's a lovesick fool. She'll cry, then do what I say. Details followed financial scams, massive debts he'd lied about. He wasn't a successful consultant. He was a gambler tangled in shady schemes. The wedding, gifts, venue an act, an investment in his future cash cow. Me. I sat frozen, unable to breathe. Air wouldn't come. A roar filled my ears. Every word on that screen was a knife to the heart. Lovesick fool. Chicken to pluck. Perfect cover. That was me. The one who loved him, trusted him, would have given him everything. I didn't cry. Tears were ash inside. Only cold, hollow emptiness remained. I placed the phone back exactly. Stood, faced the mirror. A pale, hollow-eyed woman stared back a stranger. What had he done to me? The lock clicked. Andrew was home. He walked in cheerful, slightly tipsy, humming. Oh, wifey, still up? Waiting for your hero? He moved to hug me. I stepped back. Don't touch me, I said quietly with a steel that froze him. Hey, what's wrong? His cheer evaporated instantly. I just looked at him. Not at the man I loved, but at a lying, predatory conman. Every ounce of love turned to revulsion. I know everything, Andrew, I said flatly. About your debts, about Sergei, about why you really wanted me. His face lengthened. Fear flashed, then vanished, replaced by control. What crap are you spouting? What nonsense did you cook up, listening to your jealous friends? I read your messages, I said. A gunshot. He froze. Then I saw his real face unmasked. Ugly, furious, eyes narrowed to cold slits. You snooped? He hissed. Fine, you read it. So what? Yeah, I've got problems. Yeah, I need money. And you, as my wife, are supposed to help me, not whine. I gave you a beautiful life, you ungrateful. Beautiful life? I gave a bitter laugh. A life of lies, of debt. You never loved me, not for 1 second. You just wanted someone to use. Loved, didn't love. Who cares? He roared. We're family now. Our problems are shared. So be a dear, sell your apartment and that flower shack and give me the money, or things get bad for both of us. He stepped closer. His eyes held a threat. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Only cold fury and contempt filled me, and immense, overwhelming gratitude to the instinct that stopped me from calling him months ago. That made me keep the inheritance secret, my salvation. You won't get a dime from me, I stated firmly. Not the apartment, not the shop, nothing. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. Divorce? He barked a nasty laugh. Go ahead, file. How do we split assets, huh? Everything acquired during marriage is 50-50, remember. My debts are your debts now, dear wife. We're tied together for a long time. He was smug, certain he'd cornered me. He looked down at me like a crushed insect. I looked back and felt strength surge the first in months. I gathered all the inheritance documents I'd wisely stored in a safe deposit box. I hired the best divorce attorney money could find. When Andrew got the divorce papers, he laughed at first. He came to threaten me, then tried playing loving husband again. Annie, come on, let's make up. I'll fix everything. I love you. I silently closed the door in his face. In court, he was arrogant. His attorney presented his mountain of debts, demanding they be declared marital and that I pay half. Andrew sat like he'd already won. Then my attorney stood and presented documents to the judge. Documents proving I'd inherited $15 million before the wedding, proving those funds were my sole, separate property, not marital assets. I'll never forget Andrew's face. First confusion, then shock. Then it purpled, twisting with rage and greed. He stared at me with pure hatred. He understood. He understood the fortune he'd missed. He realized he'd sat beside a gold mine, clueless. He saw the fool he thought I was and the fool he was. The divorce was swift. The court ruled his debts were solely his incurred before marriage or for his own schemes, not family needs. His attempts to claim anything from me failed spectacularly. I walked out a free woman. I sold the apartment we'd bought on credit, gave Andrew his half, and never saw him again. Mutual acquaintances said he drowned in debt. Creditors took everything. I felt no pity, no satisfaction, only emptiness and exhaustion. Over a year passed. The heart wound scarred, over-thin but visible. A constant reminder, trust can be misplaced. Pretty words are dangerous. Intuition is vital. I didn't live like a millionaire. No villa, no yacht. I still live in my cozy little apartment. I still open my flower shop every morning, though now it's bigger and brighter. I bought the space next door, renovated, added a small cafe. Now you can buy a bouquet and enjoy fresh coffee and pastries. My business thrives. I hired help. I volunteer helping animal shelters and nursing homes. I travel, but not to luxury resorts, to quiet, beautiful places where I can be with nature and myself. The money didn't bring happiness. It brought a test, and I'm grateful I passed. I learned true wealth isn't bank account digits. It's doing what you love. It's a loyal friend who has your back. It's inner peace and security. It's finding joy in simple things. Morning sun, rain on pavement, a stranger's smile. I'm no longer looking for a prince. I've learned to be happy alone. I'm stronger, wiser, more cautious. If someone new ever enters my life, I'll watch their actions, not their words. I'll know he loves me, and not my millions, because he might never know about them. That'll be my little secret, my insurance against lies and betrayal, my hard-won life lesson. I look in the mirror and see the Annie I lost calm, smiling, a little naive, but not foolish anymore. I see a woman forged by fire, unbroken, who kept her faith in good but learned to spot the cheap imitation. And I like her so much more than the lovesick fool I used to be. Months after the divorce, I felt like I was learning to live again in a world without Andrew. Alone in my cozy apartment, surrounded by books, favorite mugs, and soft blankets. At first, only exhaustion. Then came a strange sense of release, like finally taking off a coat that was too tight all winter. Morning started without an alarm. I'd open the window, breathe in the cool air. Sometimes at sunrise, I'd run in the park near home, something I'd never done before. Now I loved feeling my lungs fill, my legs grow strong. I was the captain of my life again. Work consumed me. The shop felt brighter, airier, cozier after renovations. Mornings I'd arrange bouquets by the window so passers-by could catch the scent of fresh jasmine or lavender. The cafe drew retirees after the farmer's market, young moms whose kids drew with sidewalk chalk outside. It felt like a big, welcoming home. Every smile, every kind word rebuilt my faith in people, friendship, simple warmth. Lily visited more often. She'd joke, "Turns out you were right about the flower shop gig. Look at this place, coziest spot in town. And your coffee's magic. I come here for my daily boost now." We'd sit for hours in the shop's tiny kitchen, dissecting life, wincing at memories of my marriage. Lily was there when I was sad, lightening the mood with funny stories or spur-off theme-ament trips to the countryside. "Just don't lock yourself away again," she'd say. "Look how many good people are out there." Sometimes I'd remember Andrew not with pain but weary gratitude for the harsh lesson. His greed and lies reflected my own illusions, my old naivety. I knew now. Never betray yourself for approval or a shiny package. True value is within. Strangely, after the divorce, new people found my shop. It felt like the world was rooting for me. Nikolai Petrovich, a quiet history professor, became a regular, buying roses for his wife every Tuesday. I always saved the freshest blooms for him. Once he gently suggested, "Annie, would you consider speaking about your work at the community center? Creative folks gather there. Share honestly. Your experience, your openness, it's valuable." It was a new step. I hesitated. Who'd want my story of flowers and heartbreak? But I remembered needing support myself, craving honesty. I agreed. My first talk was raw, unvarnished. I shared my fears, doubts, mistakes calmly. Spoke about the importance of staying true to yourself, refusing relationships where you're just packaging for someone else's ambition. "Don't let anyone make you ashamed of your work, your calling," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "Real happiness is being at peace with who you are." Soon I was invited to give workshops for teens teaching flower arranging, sharing small business insights. It felt awkward. I didn't see myself as strong or experienced. But the kids listened intently, later sending warm messages thanking me for inspiring them. That meant more than any fortune or fame. After one workshop, a guy around 25 approached me, tall dark eyes, an awkward smile. He bought a bouquet and asked softly, "Tell me, if you had to start over from scratch, lose everything you lean on, would you do it?" I looked at him, remembering myself a year ago, scared, burned, but stubbornly clinging to a new life. "Of course," I smiled. "Start simple. With a smile, a cup of tea, one bouquet. The key is not betraying yourself." He shook my hand firmly and left, leaving a sense of a meaningful connection. I sat long after, sorting fresh lilies, thinking how fate twists and how vital it is to stay open, not hardened. Life surprised me again. An invitation to the city's small business festival. I needed a booth, a story, something engaging. Flowers alone wouldn't wow anyone. I decided on mini bouquet-making workshops letting everyone touch beauty. The work was intense. Displays, flower orders, coffee desserts, posters, social media ads. Everyone pitched in. Lily, my staff, even Nikolai Petrovich brought old floristry books for the exhibit. Festival day, crowds swarmed my booth. "You're so happy," a woman with kind eyes said, lifting her daughter to pick daisies. "Your hands seem to bring everything to life." I realized how much had changed. Before, I lived by others' expectations. Now, I listened only to myself. The money still sat in the bank. I'd learned to see it as a tool, not life's purpose. Lily and I used some profits to start free workshops for teens from big families. They learned floristry, developed taste, brainstormed community projects. People sometimes asked if I was lonely. Not lonely, I'd say, just peaceful. No more frantic anxiety. I knew I could start over no matter what. Once upon a time, someone made a big mistake, trusted a pretty face, traded her dreams for someone else's ambition. But life is wise. It teaches you to value the inner light, not the glitter. It brings kind people and new meaning. Later, Lily introduced me to her brother David. He was an architect from out of town, loved old houses and dogs. We met simply walking Lily's dog, discussing books, debating how to beautify the city. David had no flashy romance or hunger for success. He was steady, kind. At first, I was guarded fear of trusting. Opening up again held me tight. But David didn't rush. He brought fresh bread from his favorite bakery on weekends, fixed the leaky shower in the cafe, tinkered with lights for workshops. With him, I felt calm, safe. Sometimes we'd just sit quietly, him drinking tea, me arranging flowers, and that silence held more happiness than all the grand declarations of the past. Lily and I often laughed. This is adult life, no fireworks, just warm pastries and good friends. Letters still came from America. The law firm sent investment reports, earnings, interest statements. I'd look at the thick paper covered in numbers. None moved me like a simple gesture from someone nearby. A cup of tea, a kind word, a hand on my shoulder. Life taught me, never lose yourself, everything else follows. Last spring, Lily, David, and I spent May Day in her family's village. Grey skies, wet earth smell, rain on the roof, old apple trees. We roasted potatoes, sang by the fire, laughed for no reason. Watching the flames, I felt it physically. Everything that happened was just experience, precious, sometimes painful, but no longer wounding. I no longer lived in fear. Sometimes David would hug my shoulders, and I knew he'd never demand repayment for trust. He saw the real me, and that was enough. Back in the city, I took the old inheritance papers off the shelf, ready to archive them. Who knows, maybe someday this story will help someone else. Maybe my truth will be a lighthouse for someone lost. A young family entered the cafe, parents and their school-age son. The boy insisted on making a bouquet for his mom himself. I helped him wrap chrysanthemums carefully, telling him about each flower, how vital it is to nurture beauty not just in the shop, but in your soul. After they left, quiet joy washed over me. I'm exactly where I belong. My story continues not a fairy tale, but an ordinary life filled with loss, new encounters, friendship and hope. If asked today if I regret anything, I'd say, no. Every day was necessary. Most importantly, I've learned to trust again, myself, the world, the people around me, and if there's still so much ahead, good, hard, unknown, it just means the story isn't over.